Arthur C. Ross Jr. often preaches on the themes of loving your neighbor, being grateful and sharing the story of your blessings. So she decided that if the good Lord allowed her to be here on her 85th birthday, she would share her story. Live your best life. Now I'm stealing this one from Oprah. Over the last several months, I have been listening to Oprah's Super Soul Conversations. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a podcast and a TV show where she sits down and she interviews people from all walks of life. The underlying theme is how these people live their best lives. Well, I'm here to tell you, your office manager, your church secretary, your choir director, your organist, your pianist, your friend, V, mom, mommy, is living her best life. I can honestly say that I know no one on this planet who does it better. Every year, we have Christmas family dinner at her house. She makes us all gumbo. And we all sit there and wonder, and in awe, how she does it. We want to know how she did it, how she's doing it now, and we all know she will keep doing it for umpteen years to come. We all want whatever she is drinking. Even if it's not water, because we know it's not good. So we are honored that you have accepted the invitation to join our family on this occasion. We begin this evening with an invocation, and after which you will take full advantage of the food bazaar. And we'll be back to share her history of the blessed 85 years. Pastor Ross?
Well, Pastor Ross, yes, I too wondered how she had all this energy. And about me being my mom's greatest blessing, I'm not bragging, it's just facts. And you'll see how we share the story of my mom's life. You'll see how I kept her young, smart, and one step ahead of everything. Not sure if she appreciated it, but I did. So I did, okay, I'm sorry. I do see a red light coming on. All right, I'm gonna quit talking. Come on, Mr. Pastor. Pastor Ross.
Once God endows us with gifts, usually one or two. Virginia is one of the few people that has very many gifts, and probably is the essential person at the church. You can change the pastor, you can change a lot of people, but without Virginia, a lot of things just wouldn't run as well. And so we thank God for her, for the gifts and talents. Don't leave out the children's choir that she used to work with, and the adult choir, and all, which was her primary responsibility.
Just pray now.
You shut up. All right. Merciful Father, we just thank you for Virginia. We thank you for the longevity with which you have blessed her. And Father, we know that you have blessed her with such longevity because she still has work to do. Father, you are gracious and loving and kind. We thank you for her. We thank you for her family. We thank you for the gifts and skills that she brings. And we thank you for the person and the personality that she has. Father, bless this night. Bless Virginia. Let her know that she is truly loved and appreciated. For Christ's sake, in whose name we pray.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Virginia. Happy birthday to you.
Children, that was not in the script. That's okay, Mom, I'll go back on script now. I'm a good daughter, so. Hi, everybody, I'm Maria, that's my husband. Hi, Maria. You all feel badly for me now? You're a little serious. One of the greatest blessings our mom has enjoyed in her good health is her good health at the age of 85. I know she doesn't look it, she doesn't act it, but we all hope to be just like her. Now, having said that, she can't see to drive after dark. She can't hear with a dab, which sometimes is a good thing because we can talk about her when she's around. She couldn't walk a straight line if her life depended on it. She'll go straight to jail if she ever gets stopped by the police because they'll swear she's under the influence of something. However, she's never been seriously ill, never had the flu, can remember even catching a cold, and her doctor describes her condition as amazing. Amen. Which is the same way we usually describe her as well. The doctor attributes this to good genes. But my mother, who always thinks in musical terms, knows the answer is rendered by the gospel choir of Bellevue Presbyterian Church. You're not done with
No? Okay. Oh, before we start with the gospel choir, I have a memory about what my lovely wife mentioned when she said going straight to jail if my mother ever got stopped by the police. First, my mother told me that in life, it's not always what you do, sometimes it's the company you keep. And I remember the first time, I know, looking at me, you never believe this, I went to jail. Actually, no. Actually, the only time I visited jail. The reason I say visit, because I didn't realize my mom had set me up to learn a lesson by keeping me in jail for a weekend. My quick story about my mom, it was a Friday night, and I was in high school, going back with some friends of mine, and we were partying, and I fell asleep in the back seat of the car. Well, they were smoking a little weed. Well, that's what I thought. Okay. And they were driving down the street and forgot to turn on their headlights. Well, we got pulled over, and of course, we got taken in. The police had us call our parents. No, the police called the parents, because I don't remember talking to my parents. And later that night, my friend's parents came to pick them up, and they were released. And I'm thinking, like, why am I still here? So Sunday came around. Yeah, Sunday came around. And I'm looking at it like, I got released on Sunday. And later in the years, about a couple years later, I asked my mother when I became an adult, I told her, I said, what happened to me? And she told me that she came up to the jail and she told them that she wanted to she wanted them to keep me as long as they could. So I would learn a lesson. So well, lesson learned. So now we have the gospel choir.
Keep me alive. It's all over me.
And our mother believes that the best things in life are not things at all, but the people who make you feel loved and cared for. God works miracles, not by waving a magic wand, but by sending people into our lives who make a difference. Her story began back in 1933 in Indianapolis, Indiana, in the midst of the Great Depression. Before civil rights, before the World Wide Web, and when telephones were for talking. Now our mother...
Before Trump.
Now our mother was the firstborn child of Norris and Ruth Magruder. Her brothers, Norris Jr., Ernest, and Donald, were born in 35, 37, and 41, respectively. In her later years, she told our grandmother that she should have a sister in 1939. But my grandmother's response was that no, she didn't plan to have that last brother in 1941. Uncle Norris and Uncle Ernest are now in heaven with our grandparents, but happily, Uncle Donald is here with his family. Please stand up. And Lois Magruder. Lois. Cindy Kuiper and her husband Darren, and their sons Landis and Cameron, and Lisa Hammond and her husband Mark. Her parents were exceedingly wise when it came to raising children. Her mother taught her to sew, play the piano, and admonished her to learn to do as many things as she can, because one day they will all come in handy. Like at 82 years old, standing on the ladder, putting up Christmas lights. And we all come to Christmas dinner because she fell off the ladder. And we told her never to do that again. Call Perry and Ray, they'll do it for her, because they're the closest. Her father's admonitions were, you have to work to eat, do it right, or leave it alone. Whatever you do in life, be the best that you can be. Whenever homework or projects were presented for his approval, he would only ask, is this the best you can do? His words haunt her to this day, which is why she is so anal in almost all of her undertakings, even those others consider trivial and important, like what glass the tea goes in and what glass the water goes in. During her formative years were spent primarily in church, where grandmother played for the choir, and by the time Mommy was 12 years old, she was following in my grandmother's footsteps, and she has been on the piano ever since. With the exception of a brief hiatus, which we'll tell you about a little bit later in the story. It was a proud Magruder family when she graduated as valedictorian of her high school class and went on to graduate from Butler University. Shortly after graduation, her aunt and uncle, Jean and Milton Myers, who had left the confines of Indianapolis to seek opportunities in sunny California, invited my mother for a visit. Little did she know that this would be a visit which would change the course of her life forever. Neither did she know that the entire sequence of events which followed had been prearranged by my grandmother and my Aunt Jean. On the first Sunday after her arrival in Los Angeles, her aunt and uncle took her to Bellevue and introduced her to the minister of music, an organist, who proclaimed she is going to play the piano for worship. Now, my mother was raised in a Baptist church, and all of her life the hymns were the same, but the hymns in the Baptist church were just a little bit more rhythmic. She tried hard to play them straight, but at the end of the service, Doris Rita Novell admonished her with the resounding, we don't play our hymns that way. However, she didn't retreat, and she stayed with the music department, serving in numerous capacities through the years. She has been the one constant in the department since that fateful Sunday in 1957. On the next day, Aunt Jean drove Mommy to the civil service office in downtown Los Angeles, telling her, "I just want you to see what the job opportunities are available." She passed the test and was told to report for an interview at 1 p.m. It was now 11 a.m., and she was all dressed in a fancy cotton shirt, off the collar shoulder blouse and sandals. But she tried to telephone Aunt Jean, but she got no answer. She didn't know where she was or how to get home to change into proper clothes for an interview. Distressed, she ran into the restroom and encountered a lady who asked her why was she on the verge of tears. She related her tales of woe, and the lady told her just to dry your tears, put on some lipstick, and try not to worry. When she walked into the room, the stranger turned out to be a member of the interview board. God had blessed her through a stranger's intervention, and she was told to report to the probation department on the next Monday and begin collecting that fabulous salary of $375 a month.
Before my wife comes up, I'm going to tell her a story about, we were talking about the cell phones. Well, I wish cell phones were out when I was coming up, especially with the spanking of the kids. DCSS would have been my first number in my phone. Especially after the time I knew that I was going to get disciplined, and I put on 2 pairs of underwear beforehand, and you caught that. Yeah, remember that group called Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight? They weren't the first rappers. My mother was. She talked or did a rap song while they were whooping. As I remember it, it was, now what you hear is not a test to me. And me, the groove, and my belt is going to rearrange your seat. That's how I got whipping. And those are words that my grandmother taught my mother were still instilled in my mind. A couple stories I have. Real quick. I know. My mom gave me great work ethics. It started when I was 11 years old. I remember selling flowers on corners on the weekends. That had to go against child labor laws on the weekends. Another story about my mother being anal, which everybody in this room that knows her knows she is. It helped me when I was in the Marine Corps, which at that time I went to the hardest branch, at that time it was the hardest branch with boot camp. My father kind of threw me out there that I wasn't man enough or disciplined enough to be in the Marines. Well, he must have forgotten that I had the hardest boot camp ever known to humans. Even harder than the Navy SEALs. That's Drill Sergeant Virginia Williams. Marine Corps had nothing on that training. So, and I think my friends actually used to call her Sarge or something like that. I think Sarge is calling you, me and your mom. So, anyway.
Story. Mom then married Jimmy's and Kim's father at Bellevue. Bought a home in Pomona. Uncle Dad and grandmother moved from Indianapolis to LA. It's not working? Sorry. And her greatest blessings came when Jimmy and Kim completed her family.
Yes.
At least Kim. They were all active in the life of Bellevue for the next few years, making the 90-mile round trip several times for worship, not me guys, for worship, choir rehearsals, and other activities. Kim's and Jimmy's father, who was an avid sports fan, began coaching Pop Warner football. Kim became a cheerleader, and their lives changed. At their father's behest, Mom gave up her life at Bellevue to become a full-time Pop Warner football mom. However, they eventually came to an amicable parting of the ways, and Mom returned to Bellevue. Her feelings about this turn of events are expressed in this song that will be rendered by the Heritage Choir. Yes, I'm done.
I'll tell you. Virginia, there was something in this that I'm trying to catch the spirit.
I've been changed.
I've been changed. In your presence I've been healed. Delivered. I found joy. My shame and my guilt, my sin, forgiven, no more shame, no fear, all because my man is over.
and she has never left Bellevue since. One family, Buford and Claudia Hayes and their 9 children, have become an integral part of our lives. Perry will relate that part of the story.
Thank you. The Williams and Hayes family friendship is a match made in heaven, for we have been in each other's lives for over 50 years. I know it's been that long. Yes, that's long. I know it's been that long because it started before Kim and I were even born. Wait a minute. Now that I think about it, it's only been 30 years because Kim and I are only a little bit older than 30, right, Kim? Yeah, we're not in the church, so I can say that. Virginia and my mom, Claudia Mae Hayes, were very close. With Virginia being the only girl in her family, Claudia Mae was the sister she never had, and Virginia was the younger sister that Claudia Mae didn't have, as she was the youngest of 10 children in her family. My earliest remembrance of Virginia is when I was about 5 years old, watching her sitting at the piano bench at Bellevue Presbyterian Church, because, you know, I was only allowed to sit on the front row of the church where my parents could keep an eye on me from the choir stand. I would watch her hands and feet, and her feet would do this funny little dance on the piano pedals. Like, one foot would go down, and the left foot would go up, and then they would switch really fast. I learned to do that from Virginia. I also remember Virginia being on the stern side. Okay, she was just playing on me. One day after church, Kim, my sister Lynette, and I were out on the front porch playing choir. And of course, I was the director. It had to have been around Easter because we were imitating the chancel choir singing, "He is dead guilty, he is dead guilty, take him, let us crucify him," you know, from the many cantatas that they did back then. Well, Virginia came bolting out on the front porch and said, "If you're gonna sing it, you're gonna sing it right." And she commenced to teaching us the correct way to sing, "He is dead guilty." I remember thinking, geez, is it that serious, lady? I don't think we ever sang that song again in fear of getting us told again. Our families were inseparable. Either they were at our house for Sunday dinner or we were in Claremont. Virginia would always say, "Why don't you guys come out to the country for dinner?" And boy, was it the country back then. It seemed like it would take us days to get to 4316 Piedmont Mesa Drive in Claremont, California. Later on, at one point, my brother Joel actually went to live with Virginia, and so he and little Jimmy, little Jimmy could go to Citrus College together. After Virginia and Big Jimmy separated, the families grew tighter because after Friday night choir rehearsals, Virginia would pack us last 3 Hayes kids, Lynette, Sharice, and myself, and take us back to the country with her and Kim. And we loved it. Or Virginia and Kim would come in with suitcases packed and ready to stay with us for the weekend. However, when us Hayes kids knew Virginia was coming to stay the weekend, we knew we were going to be put to work. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I am certain that Virginia and my father, Buford Hayes Sr., violated some child labor laws. of them put their heads together, there was no rest for the weary. Now, you know we always kept a clean house, but with Virginia around, it was always like spring cleaning. In fact, I think she invented the concept. I remember her saying, "Claudia May, you got these beautiful chandeliers with crystal hangings from them. Make these kids take them off and clean every last one of them." And we did. I think twice a year. Virginia would even saw fit to get us down on our hands and knees to clean the baseboards in every room of the house. I say all that and I'm joking, but it was a good life lesson. My house is spotless now. Now that I'm all grown up and have become a music professional, whenever she has the chance, Virginia tells everybody, "I taught the boy everything." And it's true, she has. All the musicianship I have is because of her. Virginia is truly a mentor, friend, and a second mom to me, and she makes the best gumbo. Now I think it's time to go home and spring clean the house again. Happy 85th birthday, Virginia. Ray and I love you dearly.
Thank you, Barry. I remember all of that. Very well. So after the dissolution of the marriage, the Hayes family made it their mission to see that my mom didn't remain alone. After several dates arranged by the Hayes sisters, with Shirley leading the charge, Buford and Claudia decided that my mom should meet Bill Sweeney, who was also a member of Bellevue. That introduction was the beginning of a relationship that endured for the next 37 years, until his death in 2010. Roscoe and Claire Steverson, who were also members of Bellevue, awakened their previously suppressed desire for travel. And after making innumerable trips with the Steverson Travelers, Bill and my mom decided to see the USA by automobile on their very own after retirement, exploring every state in the Union, including Alaska and many of the Canadian provinces. Speaking of blessings and the people who have brought them into her life, when she had written her last check to UCLA and I was about to graduate, she was determined to sell our home in Claremont and move to Los Angeles. And it was Aunt Lois who sent her a buyer and gave her her asking price. The house never went on the market. So she was in a quandary about the move because she wanted to retire and did not want to go into debt and buy another home. It was then that Ida and Arnold Towns, who were also members of Bellevue, whom she first met when she arrived, invited her to a party at their new mobile home in Rancho Dominguez. She fell in love with the location, which was nice because it was a stone's throw away from Bellevue. She found a home as spacious and as the old one in Claremont. The finances worked out, and she said farewell to country living. Her blessings seemed to multiply exponentially after the move. She retired at the ripe old age of 56. Now, I will be 55 in August. 30. Okay, 30. So I have a long way to go before I retire. After reading that average lifespan in LA County retirees was 3 years, she was determined to beat the odds. Now, all of her life, she always stated that she would never, ever be a teacher or work with children. But God had other plans. Right after retiring from her county job in 1990, a teacher and member of Bellevue, Audrey Whitworth, approached her about directing the children's choir. She gave a resounding no way for an answer, but finally relented and took on this new challenge on a temporary basis. But we all know it wasn't temporary. Just until they could find someone else. After her first rehearsal, she determined that she would never be able to keep them interested and busy with just singing, since they learned too quickly to sing just 2 songs once monthly at a worship service. At about the time some unsolicited music arrived in the mail, which included a musical for children called Lost and Found, the story of the prodigal son. This kept the children busy for several months, and she was assisted by her faithful friend, Johnny Brooks, who volunteered to help with the children. They were teaching Bible lessons, hymns, and spirituals, directing and presenting musicals twice a year, making costumes, designing sets and scenery for Bill and Uncle Donald to build. This temporary job lasted 20 years. And watching their growth was the most satisfying experience of her life. They all went on to lead productive lives. One went on to star in a television series, another was accepted into high school for the arts, based solely on her experience as a caroler. And another went on pursuing an acting career in New York. And still another former caroler returned to Bellevue after graduating from UC Berkeley and is currently reviving the youth and young adult ministry. They are all living and working all over the country. So if any former carolers are present, would they please stand? Grandparents of the carolers, can you also please stand?
Okay, this brings me to another quick story about my mom and her job with the probation department. One day, mid-afternoon, I had left school with some friends. Yes, I know. It's supposed to be well, we decided to go to the grocery store and hang out. I was going up and down the aisles, just doing a teenager thing. All of a sudden, it was the closest thing by the school. Okay. All of a sudden, right behind me, my mother tapped me on the shoulder. What are you doing here? And I'm thinking, what are you doing here? But I didn't ask her. And the only question she has never gone to that store before, ever that I know of. It wasn't near the house, wasn't near her job, anything like that. Even today, I still don't know the answer how you was at that store. So, of course, if anybody knows my mom, like Perry said, I was on punishment. It had to be the cruelest punishment that anybody could give to their child. I couldn't go outside for weeks. And every day I had to do my homework, which is okay, but she had to look at it. That wasn't the worst. If I didn't have any homework, she would make me read the dictionary. And then give me a test. Who does that? Anyway, that's my mom. You want me to read your part? That's a lot. That's a part. That's a long. Oh, right here. Oh, that's my part. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going. You want to read my part? Okay. Well, the loss of family members always brings sadness into one's life. But my mother was able to deliver a eulogy at her father's funeral, arrange and direct her mother's funeral, be a source of strength for her sister-in-law after the death of her brother, Ernest, and spend a week at the bedside of her brother, Morris, who died just hours after she flew back to Los Angeles. Her determination, faith in God, strength to continue giving of her best to others is expressed in the song Yesterday, which now be sung by the talent duo Kimberly and Sydney.
Had enough heartache and enough headache. I've had so many ups and downs, don't know how much more I can take. See, I decided that I cried my last tear yesterday.
Either I'm gonna trust you, or I may as well walk away. 'Cause stressing don't make it better, don't make it better, no way. See, I decided a long time ago, yesterday. Oh, yesterday. Oh, yesterday.
I decided to put my trust in you.
If there's any problem, he'll handle it for you. I decided. Oh, I cried my last tear yesterday. I
Now back to the blessings and the godsend people who have kept her happy and working at Bellevue. As I say your name, please stand. When the Heritage Choir was in need of a vibrant director 14 years ago, he blessed her with Fred Settle. When she was feeling that she was getting too old to continue playing for worship, he blessed her by sending Chris Holler and Joe Goldberger to When the gospel choir needed new life, and she needed someone who could replace her when she needed a vacation, he blessed her by sending her the multi-talented director, composer, arranger, and coordinator for the music for tonight's celebration, Charles Mims. When her close friend, Janice Smith, who was the office manager of Bellevue, suddenly became ill, Mom voluntarily stepped in to help out and became even closer to her pastor, Arthur C. Ross Jr. Start coming this way, Pastor, because you're next. We'd like to ask you a question, Pastor Ross. What is it like to experience something we've never known? Telling Virginia what to do.
You know, anything about Bellevue? Bellevue was started by people after World War II coming home from the war. That generation was very strong after fighting. They were the ones who built community over in that area and put together the civil rights movement, and so they were all very tough, and the women were all very strong personalities. And as a Presbyterian, the only thing I have control over is the message and the scripture, which I'm reminded of quite often. One of the things, and I'll just share this because you've heard a lot about Virginia. Virginia's very strong, very faithful, very dutiful. She's resourceful. The first thing I learned as a new pastor, always read your bulletin. I read it sometimes I don't. I have to read it because if I don't, Virginia will change stuff. I'm telling you, and I'll be up there looking stupid. I get ready to do the communion, and it's a whole different communion. I said, okay. But no, Virginia is a wonderful person to work with. She's very good. She's very thorough. She's very thoughtful. She's very kind. And even though she may have a very sharp tongue sometimes, she means it in love. And we love her because of it. Thank you, Virginia, for everything you do.
So Sydney was seen better.
I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids singing in the children's choir, running around trying to get those extra pieces of communion bread that melt in your mouth. They're so good. And I love Virginia. But I used to say, Mama, she's so mean. You used to scare me. You still kind of do scare me. But Virginia was the first person to put me in front of the congregation to sing. And I was 12. And, I was, beyond frightened. But that meant so much to me because what I got back, That's why I'm singing right now. Right. All right. So it's because of you, Virginia, that I'm probably standing here right now. Yeah. So thank you. This is better than anything. Better than sailing at midnight, better than diving for pearls, better than skiing at Aspen, better than feeding the squirrels, better than finding a horseshoe, better than losing your head, better than anything thought of, better than anything said, better than singing right out loud, or being spotted in the crowd, better than anything except for God's love. I'm talking about God's love. Better than 4 cents of dizzy, better than Count Basie's band, better than Rollins and Coltrane, better than being on the stand, better than Ella Fitzgerald, better than Miles Davis blues, better than Bill Evans ballads, better than Joe Williams blues, better than seeing Lady Day off chicken in at Monterey, better than anything except God's love. Talking about God's love. It's a circus. Elephants dancing, clowns on parade, better than peanuts or popcorn or fresh lemonade, better than rides of the Midway, better than seals blowing horns, better than men shot from cannons, better than fresh ears of corn, better than balancing on bars or watching tigers leap through fire, better than anything except being in love. God's love, better than Barack or Michelle, better than Camelot Rock, better than love and compassion, better than best friends once more, better than loving your neighbor, better than fighting off hate, better than walling off nations, better than a police state, better than reaching out just because of watching blessings rain from above, better than anything except for God's love. I'm talking about God's love. Come on, guys.
Got here early to help my mother set up. And every time I would talk to her this week, she would say, I'm nervous, ooh, I forgot this, I forgot that. But there was one person that she kind of left off something here and something there. And I just want this person to know that, Pat, you are not last. Bill's death in 2010 left a void in my mom's life, which we were afraid would never be filled. But then God blessed her by sending Pat Walker, whom we now regard as a sister to be her caring friend, Sunday dinner companion, traveling companion, chauffeur. They have ventured to every casino in the state of California and beyond. I remember, it was probably a couple years ago, you know, I would always just get an email, oh, we're going to Sam's Town, we're going here, we're going there. But this email, it just said, I'm gone. And I told Maria and we just freaked out. We're like, what? And she's like, no, Pat and I are just going down the road. We're going to Sam's Town or Pachanga or whatever. As busy as I am these days, Pat is my sister, and I'm so glad that she is in our lives to be able to be the companion that you are to my mother. Now, as it turns out, Pat has a lot of first cousins who live in Seattle, Bakersfield, Lancaster, Long Beach, and Los Angeles. They all decided to celebrate their birthdays together as each of them have turned 70 and beyond. The celebrations were to be held in a city of the celebrants' choosing. So Pat invited my mom to join them, resulting in trips to Seattle, to Las Vegas 2 or 3 times, San Francisco, Santa Barbara, and a cruise to Mexico to celebrate Pat's 60th birthday. They have come to Los Angeles this evening to celebrate my mom's 85th, and we are delighted to finally meet them and introduce them to you. It's a small world, and one cousin's mother, Helen Tate, was a long-standing member of Bellevue. Her daughter, Jackie Myers, is the creative genius and is responsible for the centerpieces and decorations for tonight. Thank you, Jackie, for your friendship. Who she has named the cousins. Please stand. So my mother's final message to you is this. When times get rough and things don't go your way, renew your faith. Pray and remember this musical admonition from the gospel choir and jazz ensemble. Hold on.
guys have to help me on this, and we can drown all that out, and we'll make our own party. We'll make them listen to us. It's your celebration. It's your celebration. Celebration time, come on. It's your celebration. Celebration time, come on. Now there's a party going on right here. A celebration that lasts throughout the year. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on and celebrate now. Come on and celebrate and have a good time. Sing it. Celebration, y'all. Sing it. Come on and celebrate and have a good time. It's time to come together. It's up to you. Put your hand up, everyone around the world. Come on. It's your celebration. It's the celebration. Celebration time. It's a celebration. Come on, Virginia. Celebration time. Come on. It's a celebration. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. Said we're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. Come on. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. Come on now. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. It's alright. It's a celebration. I know it's right. It's a church. It's a celebration. Celebration time. Come on. It's a celebration. Celebration time. Come on. It's a celebration now. Celebration time. Come on. It's a celebration. Celebration time. Come on.
Well, coming up next is a stand-up comedian. Okay, Cindy, okay. Karen Bankhead is a veteran actress of stage and screen and has been seen on many shows such as The Parkers, Reno 9/11, The Bernie Mac Show, The Jamie Foxx Show, I Am Sam, Curb Your Enthusiasm, James Brown, Get On Up, The Little Richard Story, Gilmore Girls, and many more. However, Karen could not be with us today. Eagle, better known as the Black Forrest Gump. Please welcome everybody, favorite church mother, Miss Etta Ma Murphy.
Music, y'all are getting down without me.
Yeah.
sorry, I'm trying to get here on time, but I can't rush. I tell you, ain't nothing running on me nowadays but my stockings. It's true. But oh, what a happy occasion. How you doing, Miss Virginia? You getting down, getting back up again? And I know that I fall and I can't get up. No, we don't play that, do we? We getting down on the one around here. Y'all young folks still say that? Okay, never mind. I'm so happy I made it on time. This is a blessed place to be. What a happy occasion, sweetheart. Thank you for inviting me. Or if not, I would have come anyway, because I saw it pretty. I'd like to be with all the happy party people. I'm Eddie Mae Mumford. Did you tell him that? Oh, thank you. Okay, then that's all right. I'm Eddie Mae Mumford, and they call me the Black Forrest Gump. Sometimes you told him that. Okay, all right. I had to check. You know, that's right. We got like he was trained up right, trained up a child. I know how it goes. But yes, I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be anywhere on this side of the ground at my age. Can I get a whoop whoop? I don't know what it means. I just do this all the time. Get one that's up. I don't know what it means. But I'm so blessed and highly favored. The Bible says that too, doesn't it? Blessed and highly favored. If I was some of that barbecue out there, I'd be blessed and highly favored. Give it up for the food around here. Yeah. All these beautiful people, y'all looking so good. I tell you, y'all don't mind. I got memories. I'm all about history, trying to take care. You know what? This is a camera. You want to hold it? They take pictures, but you can't talk at the same time. Everybody knows they still sell them at Rite Aid. I still buy it. They see you come in with this and they tell you, but I tell you, I'm going to take a picture and we're going to, what's today's birthday? No, it's April, what's the date? April 14th. Thank you. All right, so round about Father's Day, I'll get the pictures back. Isn't that right? I'm going to get a GoFundMe going so I can get a picture for everybody. Remember